So I've done some rejiggling and I've actually made some more squares. So I've made this one, I've made some plain ones, I've made this, which has got a skirt. This was the back of the Harry Potter one. Some more squares down here. I've made this and I've made a little one here. So hopefully now all I need to do is start putting it together from the bit up there. So I need to start on this corner here, I think. So I'll show you what I do next. So the next thing I'm going to do is I'm going to put this together with this row. So that goes up like that. I'm going to pin that together and sew it together, and then I can deal with the bit just over there. So I have now added this part of the quilt together, and now I've got to add this. So the way I'm going to do that is, because you've got the flat bits there, well, this I'm going to put right sides together there and sew along there, and then once I flip it out I could probably hopefully attach this bit. So let's see how that goes. So I did try and attach that to that, and there was a bit of a mistake as to where there was no seam here, seam allowance. So I'm going to try a different tactic, and I'm going to seam this together up to there, and then once I've ironed that out, hopefully then I can attach that to that, and that should get over that little problem there. See, I'm just learning as I go along on this quilt. So now I've sewn this bit to this, all I've got to do now is flip this over like that and sew the seams down here. So I've just pinned this seam together, and I've tried to pin the life out of it, because even though it's got the interfacing on, it's still slipping a bit because it's still stretchy, and the interface only goes up to there. And I've tried to keep, oops, sorry, the camera angle, tried to keep the material out a bit, and I've pinned to there because I'm going to sew to there, and I'm going to leave that a flap just in case, because I need to insert other things. So the next bit that I'm going to do is I'm going to literally sew that square to that bit there and that square to that bit there. And once I've done that, I can then attach these bits and hopefully these bits. So I have sewn these bits together and these bits together. I am now going to fold this over and sew these two seams down, but I'm going to leave a bit of a gap again. So I've not pressed it yet, but I need to press these seams out. So I've done these ones, done this, and then I've put this together now, and I've left the gap there. I now need to put these together. So to do that, I'm going to use my board. I'm just going to cut some of this fabric off just to make it even with this, and then I can sort of seam that together like that, and that will close up that, and we'll keep a little gap for other bits that need to go in at the bottom. So now I've cut that down a bit here, what I'm going to do before I join these seams together there, I'm just going to turn this over and join this little bit here so it's the same, and then I should be able to join that afterwards. So I'll show you when I've done that. So I have done that area there, and I'm coming back down to this way now. So I have got these two pieces here. I need to attach them together, and then I need to make the strip there, and then this one I need to attach it to that bit there, and that's the next stage that I'm going to do. So I've now pinned this onto here. I've left it a bit long there, but I'm going to cut that, and then I've pinned this bit onto there. So I'm just going to sew them two, and then I can kind of do that all the way along. I'll come back and show you after I've done these. So I've now attached this onto here. I've cut that down a little bit there, and I'll probably cut that down there a bit so that will go like that eventually. And here I've attached this to here, but it has kind of got this bit here. So what I'm not going to worry about it, because I am going to do a bit of hand stitching on these after, and I'm going to sort of tack it down so it doesn't entirely lift up. So then you won't even notice that, because I'll do it quite close to there. So there's little things like that that I'm not going to worry about. So I have now just lined this row up, and what I think I'm going to do is I'm going to put this row together. So I'll put that to that, that to that, and just back it all up like that, and I'll show you, and then I can then add it to this. So I've now stitched this row together. I'm then gonna, I think I need to stitch up these bits and this bit here, and then I'm going to flip this, sorry, these bits here, and then I'm going to flip this over and stitch this row to this row for now, and then I can get started on the next row, and I'm getting there. So I have pinned, leaving that one still open, I've pinned all the way along here, and where we've got the frill, you can see all the frills just in there. So I've pinned it so the frill's not sticking out, because I want obviously the frill to stay inside. I'm just going to literally sew it all along here with a quarter seam allowance right to the end. So I've done all of that. I'm now going to sew this to this bit to this, and this bit to this. And then I've got this, I'm going to probably take that away because I'll sew that on separate. But I'll then sew this whole row up to here, because these ones I'll probably sew this to this and this to this, and have to do it half seams and stuff. So that's my next job. So I have sewed this row together all the way up to there, and I have pinned, just go over this bit, I have pinned this bit here to this, and this bit here to this. So I'll probably sew them together there and them together there. So I've just pinned this skirt on here, and I'll sew it, and when I flip it, it should flip like that. So I'm going to attach that as well. So I have now sewn this skirt down to here. Just going to come round here, and I've sewn this bit onto here, and this bit onto here, and these bits here, and I've left a bit of a gap, and there's a gap here. So what I'm going to do next is all of this row here, I'm going to flip it over, I'm going to pin it to that row all the way along, and then I'm going to sew that along, and then I'll show you. So I have now stitched this row all along to there. This bit here, I'm not quite happy with this bit here, but I'm not going to worry about it because I've got a bit of hand sewing to do. So I'll probably just hand sew that up there, so you won't see it. So I'm not going to worry too much about that at the moment. So if I come along here, I've sewed that to that and that to that. So near now to sew that to that and that to that. And then I'm going to sew this next row together before sewing it to this, and then I'll come back. So I've now put these bits together here. I've got to put them together, and this I've literally got to sew like that all the way along to here. And once I've done that, I can kind of start on the bottom rows. So I'm getting there. So I have attached all of this row now. So let me just go along, show you. I've attached it up to here. So I've got gaps here. So I'm on my kind of last row. So I'm going to attach this to this bit. And then before I attach that to that, I think I'm going to cut these squares down, and I'm going to attach this to this, and then I can attach that to that, and that to that, and that would be that section, and then I can do the rest. So I've sewn this to this one, and before I sew this to here, what I've done is I've sewn these two together. I'm going to sew this, oops, and these two together. I'm going to sew this to this, like this, and then, sorry, then I'll sew that to that. So I have now added this part on here, and I'm now going to put these two pieces together, flip that over, and then the same with this one and this one, and then I'll come back. So I've come to this bit here, and what I'm going to do, so this bit's got the frill there, obviously, the upside down frill. I'm going to just flip that over and then probably pin that to that, and then I'll sew there. And then once that's flipped over, I can sew that all the way there. Here, I need to kind of do a strip. So I'm probably going to cut a strip there, and I might use that strip over here somewhere, because I need to kind of, as long as I get to this bit, I need to kind of build this little bit up here, which would be fine. If there's any little gaps at the bottom that I need to fill, I can just literally get, I've still got material, I can just make little bits. But other than that, I'll try and level it all off. And then once I've done that one, I'll do the same to this. I'll flip that over, but obviously leaving that frill. And then this is where it gets a little bit more complicated. I think I'm probably going to have to trim this bit down. I might not even need these side bits, but anyway, they're there if I need them. I'll try and flip that over, sew that there, and do the same with this. Flip this over and sew that there, and then I can sew all the seams up, and then I'll worry about what the bottom looks like afterwards. And if I have to add some bits, I will, or if I have to trim bits, I can do that too. But I am nearly at the finish line, so I'll come back to you once I've done that. So I have now sewn down all the bits at the bottom, including these. There are some hand sewing that I'm going to do. So obviously these bits here I need to sew, and here I need to sew down. I'm going to neaten up these. There's a teeny hole in that, but I'm going to sew that so no one will know. Probably hem the sides of the skirts here, and I'll probably do little tacking stitches just to tack the bits of the frills and the skirts down. You can still lift bits, but this bit to be tacked. And any other bit that I feel that needs a bit of hand sewing, I'll sew. But before I do that, I'm going to put the 3 top rows on. And then once all the top rows are on and all the hand sewing is done, I can then put this on the floor, and then I can make sure all my lines are straight, all my bottoms are straight, and then we can take it from there. I'm very pleased with how it's turned out. It's looking amazing. Right, in my last video I said I'd put the 3 rows on, but I forgot I've got 4. So these were the rows that I did. So I'm going to put, obviously, row 4 on first. So this is row 4, the original row 4, and I've popped that on. Now I'm going to pop row 3 up here. Okay, so that is row 3 that has gone on now, and I'm going to put row 2 on next. Okay, so row 2 is now attached, and now I'm going to attach row 1. Well, that is the whole top all put together. All I've got to do now is give it a good iron and hand sew down some of the bits, and then I'll lay it out on the floor and make sure all the bits down here are going to be cut straight before I sandwich it together. So I have now made sure we're all squared off. I've cut the bottom bits and the side bits that needed cutting. My next job is to sew down the little skirts and the loose bits, the side bits there and the side bits there, and I'll do that by hand. I'll measure it and then I'll get some backing material and some wadding as well. So I've put the blanket together, I had to sew it, and what I've done here, I've just done like a straight stitch and then I've zigzagged the edges, and before I put it all together I'm just rolling it in, it's not a pool noodle, it's something you insulate pipes with, and I've put 2 together, and I'm gonna roll all 3 bits of material, so when I come to baste them together I'll show you the pool noodle method.